The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
Hi, this is Brad Marcus, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. Today's guest is a broadcaster, a correspondent, an on-air personality, and a host of a YouTube show where she's interviewed such stars as Will Ospreay, Casey Cattell, Danny Limelight, Shotzi Blackheart, Cody Rhodes, and I could go on and on. So let's welcome today's guest, someone who's already one of the best in the biz, host of It's Samira on YouTube. I give you Samira. Samira, how are you?
I'm good. Oh my God, that was such a nice video. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it was like thrown together. I felt like very roughly, but you. So just for the viewers, you don't normally talk as fast as it looked like on that video, correct?
No,
All right,
no,
I just want them to
don't.
know she speaks like a human being. Well, thank you, Samira, for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. All right, let's just get into it. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up here in Pennsylvania. I don't really want to give my specific whereabouts.
No, don't. There might be crazy listeners. Don't give an address or a town.
I'm just up in the northeastern Pennsylvania. So of course, when it snows here, it really snows.
Oh yeah, you're probably going to get what we just had today. We had a big snow. Now, how far is that from, say, New York City?
From about New York City, it's about like hour and a half, depends where. And that's like the same for Philly, hour and a half. It just depends on what specific part you're going into. So not too far in the middle.
Have you gone to shows at like Madison Square Garden?
Madison. I don't think I've ever been to Madison Square Garden. But like I would go to a lot of shows in Philly, specifically 2300 Arena, since like that's kind of like the only thing that I usually go to, or like independent shows.
Does the weather get in your way of travel?
Like during now, yeah. So it's like always you gotta watch out like for ice, snow, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So especially like this weekend, like I know tomorrow it's gonna snow. So literally, but for my 9 to 5 job, we all brought our work laptops home. We're like, oh, we'll see you all each other on Monday because we just know we're gonna be snowed in.
Oh my! So will that like screw up your plans completely?
So I've never had a booking on the same day as snow. Thankfully, fingers crossed, because I'm really booked for the month. Booked a bunch for the month of March. So I'm like, okay, fingers crossed. Hopefully, no snow happens because I got to be in Philly, got to be in Jersey, Orlando, going everywhere.
Oh my gosh! So are your parents present?
Yeah, they're in the living room actually.
Oh no, I meant present like with us on Earth.
Yes, they are.
Okay, where did they grow up?
So my mom moved here when she was about 5 years old from Lebanon, and then my dad didn't move here until he was about like 18 years old. They both like lived in Lebanon, but my dad more so.
Did the families know one another?
I believe like they knew, like my dad kind of knew my my grandmother, like he knew her like before, and then they like left obviously. So then when he came here, like that's when they knew each other because they go to the same church, so everybody knows everybody.
Sure, sure. And so that's how they met in church. How did they end up in that part of Pennsylvania?
I always have that question because like when they were coming from Lebanon back in like the when was it, like, oh my gosh, maybe the 50s 60s, when they were coming, they came here, and I always asked, I was like, why can't they go somewhere warmer? I don't know why they specifically
Yeah.
picked here, but they just did. Like when everybody was coming over, they just picked here. So yeah, my mom and my dad met like here. They didn't meet until they got here and like in church when everybody's like around each other.
Okay. Yeah, because that's funny because my mother-in-law decided to buy a property in Turkey. And I'm like, why did she just buy a place like in the Caribbean or or even like Spain or like how'd you pick Turkey, out of everywhere in the world? With those the answer is no research. But okay, so is wrestling, when did that come onto your radar?
So wrestling like came into my life around like 6 or 7 years old, because like when my grandfather was alive, he used to come home from work every Saturday and watch it, which got like my uncle into it. So then my uncle, like when I was a kid, like me and my brother, like he'd have the original Xbox and we'd play like Raw 2 and stuff like that. So and then we would watch it. So I was like, oh my God, I love this stuff. So I feel like it's kept with me ever since I was like 7 years old.
Let me ask you, was there wrestling in Lebanon that your grandfather was interested there?
What, like back in the day?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually not too sure about that. That's actually a really good question. I don't know if like they kind of knew anything from that time. I don't know if they just
Yeah.
like knew when they came here. I'm guessing
Uh-huh.
maybe that's what happened, like when they had the TV and they like, watched.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Hulk Hogan.
Like I would over the years I'd watch with like my uncle, and then my
Uh-huh.
mom watches it from time to time. My brother, he doesn't watch it anymore. Like I'm the only one that like watches it avidly, like me and my uncle.
So you two were the only ones who didn't grow out of it.
Nope, never. I'm never growing out of it.
So how would like your family describe you as like a kid, like, 6, 7, 8-year-old Samira?
Oh my God. I don't know. I feel like at the times I feel like that age you're outgoing, but also you're kind of like shy, like talk. I know I'm still talkative today. It's like once you get to know me, I really talk a lot.
Okay.
So maybe that's what I would say, hopefully.
Do you ever say to your parent, like you'll be talking and then say, "Are you even listening to me?" Does that ever happen?
I don't know. I think I maybe tell my mom that one time. I'll be like, I'll be going on about something. I'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, like this, okay, and then that and this and that. And like it's just so funny. I was like, wait, are you paying attention? Do you remember this?
Did you have any so you were very talkative. Did you apply that anywhere? Like what kind of interest did you have that was outside of wrestling?
Would you say it kind of cut out a little bit?
Oh, I apologize. Like what were you were very talkative, you said. Were you able to apply that something, like were you in like plays and the extracurriculars?
So in school, I never like did plays because I felt like I
Hmm.
wasn't too good of an actress. I don't know if I
Hmm.
could say that now. I don't know personally because I never took class. But in school, I did choir since I was from like third grade to 12th grade, and then I did marching band from like 8th grade to 12th grade. I was one of like the flags. So I think that kind of helped me be more outgoing because at first, like I was shy, I wouldn't really speak up unless you got to know me. But then as I was doing these things in school, it, brought that out in me to, be like, hey, you don't need to be all shy. Just come out and, talk, be who you are.
Yeah, and you get to like the taste of putting on a performance at like a young age.
Oh, yeah,
So
definitely.
were you a good student?
I would say so. Especially like
You,
when, as you get older and you understand more, I would say, and just like
mhm.
get the gist of the world around you. I could definitely say I was a good student in college and at my university. So I could
Uh-huh.
definitely say that.
Where was like your education a big deal, like within your family?
Yeah, because my mom only has an associate's degree. Because at like the time, back in whenever she got her degree, they only got associates, and my dad never went to college. So like it was cool because I'm the only one, like with my my parents and stuff. I'm the only one that has like a bachelor's degree, and my
Oh,
brother
wow.
has an associate. So like it's cool, and I thought about getting my master's, but I'm not sure if it's the right moment for me to get my master's if I would want to.
Yeah, like I mean, it's not something that sometimes it takes a couple years to kind of figure that out, like what you want to do. Um, did you have any choice about going to college, or was it like you had to go to college?
Um, I mean, like, they're like, oh, it's probably good to go to college. And I figured, that was like the next step. Cause like, I figured,
Hmm.
okay, what am I going to do if I don't go to college? Cause I didn't really have any idea of what I wanted to do. So I was like, okay,
Sure.
I'll go to college and I'll figure it out. Cause I went into community college first. I was like, okay, I'll
Hmm.
take like my basic gen eds. I'll do some like basic major, which was, I think it was general studies major. That's how I went in because I just didn't know. And I was like, okay, at least I'll
Sure.
be getting the gen eds out of the way, and then I'll get to the other stuff when it's time.
So at that point in your life, let's say like when you're 18, do you have like friends that are into wrestling?
Um, okay. Well, yes, but like mostly online. Thank God for social media. Like this
Yeah,
is one of the
seriously.
perks is like I've met so many people that loved the same thing I did.
Hmm.
And there was not too many people in like my personal real life that liked it. There was only
Yeah.
like just so few. But like the majority of people I would meet through online because they liked it. I feel like at school, like in high school, probably people knew me as like the wrestling girl because I loved that.
And did in your head were you say when you're in college, are you thinking about pursuing a career in the wrestling industry? Or is that like just like a fantasy at that point?
Um, my original plans when I was in high school, I
Hmm.
I loved singing so much, and I
Hmm.
thought, I'd love to be a singer, but it was just so it's a very risky business, and I was just like, it's just probably not for me. So I got to figure out another plan. Wrestling wise, I thought, oh, I can only be a wrestler, and that's not something I feel like I could do. I can't handle pain or something like that. So I was like, I don't
Hmm.
think that could be for me. And
Hmm.
then, when things started happening, when I realized like, oh, I loved talking, I loved getting to know people, love doing this, and
Hmm.
how it could fit well together, the two of them, and it enters into wrestling broadcasting. I was just like, oh my god, this is it. This is for me. This is what I'm meant to do.
And so in your head, this is what I meant to do. How do you then apply that? Like what was your plan?
Well, I didn't realize this until I was like, oh my god, well, how old was I? I think I was like 18 going on 19 when I had to pick what I was going to do because I needed to soon enough. I was going to have to transfer out of community college to go
Hmm.
to a 4 year just to finish those 2 years up. And at that time, I was like between two majors, which was communication and then it was early childhood education because I love kids.
Hmm.
And then that's when everything happened when I got involved with Wrestling News Co. for the first time. And then that's when I knew. I was like, oh my God, this was a sign. And here it is. Here it's right in front of me telling me this is what I was meant to do. So I switched my major to communication. And
Oh.
yeah, like I felt like that was like the biggest sign right there in front of me. Like once I took communication classes that were part of gen eds, I just like knew. And then I was like, okay, maybe, this would be great for me. And then when that all fell into place, I was like, okay, this is what I was gonna do. And then from on, like I got to learn in college about other things about broadcasting. So it was pretty
Hmm.
cool how everything worked itself out in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that all like the pieces were there, and then you just put together. Um, were you like friends and family like, oh, like that's a great idea.
They were definitely like, oh my god, this is definitely something for Samira. Like this would fit perfectly for her. But it also came with, another, as we are here again, this is like also another risky business. Like,
Hmm.
it's not something you could do full time unless you're kind of signed somewhere making enough money. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's perfect, because I get to do it on the side, or like I can do stuff like after I get off of work, which like I don't care because I love my 9-to-5 job as well, and I love doing wrestling media.
Do they know what you're up to outside of work after office hours?
Oh my God, yeah. The first time that they all found out was like the funniest thing ever, because one of the ladies I work with, I had came back from Atlanta from NWA, and she's like, "Oh, how was your weekend? What did you do?" And I told her, she goes, "Where, you're a wrestler?" She goes, and she got like freakingly jokingly like freaked out. She goes, "Oh, don't beat me up." I'm like, "No, I'm not a wrestler." I said, "I'm friends with wrestlers, but I'm not a wrestler." And then I explained what I do, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." And the one guy always asks me all the time, "What am I up to? What am I doing? Am I going anywhere?" So it's really cool that they're so interested in it too, and they like it. And then I actually found out one of my coworkers likes wrestling, so I was like, good. I need a wrestling friend in the office.
Oh, nice. That's great. Did at that point, like, were you like aware of independent wrestling or the like how big it is?
So, I was aware of independent wrestling maybe in 2016 when I was like 16, 17 years old. But I didn't really get into it because, growing up, WWE is like kind of like all you know.
Sure.
And like I was so busy with other parts of my life at that time, like high school and like all that kind of stuff, like you don't know. It wasn't until like I got out of high school that I got more into independent wrestling and realized, hey, there's like other stuff to do out there, and like and how it goes well with wrestling broadcasting and stuff like that.
So how do you come to like Wrestling News Co? Like how do they find you, or do you reach out to them?
So what had happened was back in 2018, like that's when we kind of first started up the first time was, I was big, not like, oh, like I was famous or big on, but I was like big on wrestling Twitter. Like I was, always on there doing stuff. And I like grew up with that, especially in high school. So I was on there, and we had like followed each other, and I forget like what was posted, and I had reached out to them about it because like I forget what it was about. And then at this time I was like posting on my own channel videos that I have privated because I'm just embarrassed by my younger self. But, like he noticed, I was doing my own thing on my YouTube, and like they were looking for somebody to do interviews on their channel, like grow their channel. And I was like, I mean, and like it was just right there. It was set out in front. So we did a test interview. I interviewed Barbie Blank, and from there it was history. And we did part ways at the end of 2018. I think it's because I had a lot going on. I was like young. I'm still young, but I was young. I was so focused within school. We parted ways, and then recently joined back up last year at the end of the summer. So everything worked out in the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Did do you get nervous before interviews ever?
I think like when I first started doing them, yeah, and like I feel like for certain people I get nervous for, especially if it's somebody like I grew up watching, and I get really, really nervous sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, like, I hope this goes well, like with them, like I hope they like it and everything and just enjoy themselves. I think that's when I get nervous. And sometimes in like in-person interviews, like especially like at conventions or something, it's usually that first interview you're just a little nervous, but once you get through that first interview, you're fine. Once you say that first question, everything's like done. And then I don't know, I've kind of gotten used to it, but like I said, it's usually like the childhood ones that you just get real nervous for.
Sure. So how much preparation do you put into, like, if you're going to a convention or you're doing a one-on-one interview? Is that take up most of your free time?
I mean,
Like
it
wrestling.
doesn't take okay, so when I usually come home from work, I work, like I said, 9 to 5, and I come home and I eat with my family, I work out, and then I do whatever wrestling stuff needs to be done, whether it's emails, interviews, editing, whatever it may be. And like for preparing for an interview, I always research who I'm interviewing, even though I might know who they are and what they're doing. Like I still research to see, what other interviewer asks them what question, because I don't want to double up on questions. I don't want to ask, the same basic thing,
Sure.
So I research them. I write all my questions down like on Word, or it's a note card, and memorize like, okay, this is what I want to talk about. Here's all my talking points. And then get whatever it might be set up. Usually it's Zoom. If it's like online, I have Zoom ready, Zoom link over to their media person or to them, and I make sure to ask them like before the interview, hey, is there anything, you're not comfortable talking about, anything you don't want me to mention? Cause like I will not do anything. In person, obviously comes with more preparation for yourself as well. You got to make sure you look good. You make sure your equipment works well. And that's like the same thing with, if you're doing online, you got to make sure your equipment is working right as well. But yeah, I would say like researching doesn't usually take too long, especially like since I know like most of these wrestlers and what they're doing and like keep it up. So not too long, but then, when you factor in everything else, editing or emails or, you got to keep up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Is it ever stressful, like keeping up with like Twitter and your YouTube account and Instagram? Like, is there any pressure, like having to like be posting on social media to be, relevant?
I think, yeah, sometimes it's a lot because it's like, okay, you want to grow your following so more people like watch what you do and like follow your stuff. So sometimes it is. And, you have your days where you're like, okay, I wish I had this, and this, but you got to work harder for what you want. And at the end of the day, it's not all about likes or retweets or stuff like that. As long as you're happy doing what you're doing, eventually everything will fall into place with, more people will be watching.
Did you ever have no shows at the beginning?
In the beginning, no, I want to say, because I started out doing like, then I did in-person interviews. I didn't have no shows. Some people tell you like, no, they can't either because they're signed to a contract or they didn't run it through with their manager first or something like that. Because usually you have to run stuff through, media people from a company if like that's the case, if they're under a certain contract. But in the beginning, not so much. But as I kept going in the business almost 4 years now, I've learned who to reach out to, if whether it might be the promotion or the company and the wrestler themselves. You got to make sure you're okay in every single thing.
And did is this everything that you thought it would be so far?
It's exciting, and I feel like I learn every single time I do something too, because like I said, I've been doing this almost 4 years, but I'm still learning. I feel like it is like kind of like everything. I'm like so excited because I get to travel to do what I love. I see different parts of like the country, and like watch wrestling and doing what I love and be surrounded by a bunch of new friends and people that love the same thing that I do.
Yeah. Do you travel alone or does someone ever come with you?
I travel with somebody because nowadays you never know about people, who's watching you, who's around you. I ever since the start of my career, I travel with somebody like all the time.
Oh, okay, good. And it's probably a treat for them to be able to go to places like Orlando.
Yeah, my best friend, funny enough, my first in-person interviews, she had rode down with me to Atlantic City that time. And it's funny enough, she's actually coming with me to Orlando next weekend for Revolution. So I was like, what a full circle moment that is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Are your parents sick of hearing about wrestling around the house?
I don't usually talk to them about wrestling. Maybe like my mom here and there, but like my dad, like if I talk to like my uncle when we're at the dinner table and stuff, and like we're talking about wrestling, like, my dad's like, "What? Who?" I'm like, "We're talking about wrestling." He goes, "Oh, wrestling. Okay, whatever."
Yeah. Enough. You're not over that already? That phase? Did do you watch, how much wrestling do you watch a week? Like, do you keep current, like by watching it or reading about it?
It's a little bit of both. Like if I can't watch a show live, maybe I'll DVR it or I'll catch clips of it on YouTube or on social media. It makes it easier because sometimes I'm busy doing stuff or maybe I'm just tired, but I make sure to keep up with everything that's going on in whatever company I, watch.
Yeah.
Or all of them, I should say. Basically, I watch everything.
Do you have IWTV, I assume?
Yes.
Do you pay for that?
Yeah.
And when I say do
Why?
you
What's
pay for
wrong?
that, I mean, do you pay for it? Or because I imagine like your parents are like, oh, we got to get IWTV.
Like I said, my parents don't watch like too much wrestling, so they don't like know
But,
like that kind
but
of stuff. So that like that's for me basically.
no, I'm saying, are they paying for it and they don't know that you get
Oh
IWTV,
no.
or are you giving them like $12 a month?
No, I pay for everything on my own. I'm
Okay.
22 years old with a job, you know what I mean?
I know, but sometimes things sneak through. I was, your age too at one point, and
No,
more
I
than
would
more
not.
than one load of laundry was done for me.
Listen, I'm a hard-working girl. I make my own money. I'm gonna pay, all
Okay, I
that
got one
stuff.
for you. Who's supposed to put a meal on the table at night? Does that fall on your
Listen,
mom or you?
actually, my grandmother, we eat with my grandmother almost every night, but her and my mom usually sometimes do it, but it's usually my grandmother.
I see. I see how it is. You ever bring your parents to one of your engagements?
So my dad has never been to a wrestling show, never, seen me do my thing. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, we've gone to like WWE shows together.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's seen me. I can't remember if she's seen me interview in person. Wait, yes, she did. She's seen me interview in person one time, like a couple years ago. I would love to
Uh-huh.
see how they would see me now, but the most recent thing I think my family see me in, it was like kind of like a big moment, was when I was Melina's paparazzi at NWA Empower, which was like we found out like so like that last minute, and I remember like just texting my mom, and so my mom and my brother and my uncle and my grandmother like all like got Fight TV like for that pay-per-view for that night just to see me like on that stage. And like I was just like so happy. I was like, and I like had called them after I got off the stage because like that meant a lot to me for like even my own grandmother to like watch me, even though I wasn't like
Yeah.
I was just taking pictures, like so that meant a lot to me.
But it was still like, it's like one of these once in a lifetime things, and it's amazing that you get your family to actually see, you in that moment. Do you go to wrestling shows as a fan anymore, or at all?
Um Usually, like when they would come here, we would go to like WWE. I haven't attended one of their shows since 2020, since like that was the last time they were here.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're coming back here, but I will be doing, my own bookings at that time. But I don't think I've, attended as a fan. I don't know if like, because you know how it is, like with broadcasters and like once you're in the business and you go do these things, it's like I don't know. I feel like people like judge you for like sometimes being a fan and like going as a fan, like because you don't really see it and people don't really like post about it. So I feel like you kind of get judged. I mean, like, not saying like if I wasn't booked, like booked for the day that they would be here, that I wouldn't go, because I'd still want to go and go enjoy the show with my mom, whether it's WWE or not WWE. You know what I mean?
Do you have a favorite wrestler?
In WWE or anywhere?
Anywhere. You know what? I'll let you pick 3 wrestlers.
Okay, so definitely we're number one is Randy Orton. He's been my favorite ever since I started growing up. He's number one.
Do you prefer him with the mustache or without?
Okay, I didn't like the one that he had going now. It was just I liked his old vibes that he had going in like, oh man, what was it, like 2010 or like 11, whatever that vibe was, or 2013. I liked it that, but I didn't like the one he had going on. I thought that was funny.
It's starting to make him look older.
I was like, huh, okay, that's different. I said we've seen like Randy go through like probably different hairstyles and like facial, hair through the years. So like, we're seeing a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Okay, so Randy Orton.
Randy Orton, oh my gosh. There's just a lot of people come to my mind. So it's like hard to choose.
Yeah, I know. It's like asking someone like, what's your favorite movie? Well, there's like 50.
Oh, I know. I already know that one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you do? You have the number. What is it? Or can
Mamma
you reveal
Mia.
it?
Yes, Mamma Mia is my Mamma Mia. I love that movie so much. Like I'm obsessed. I can quote like every single line of the movie and sing every song.
Well, let me tell you something. At my job, I've played that movie for them before, for my residents. They love it. I've never sat down and watched it, though.
You have to. You can't just play it for them and not like know it. Oh my god, that movie is like my whole heart and soul right there.
Wait, is that movie like music from some musical group?
From ABBA.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. Because I could hear, like, I was in my office, I could hear like the music going on. All right, maybe I'll do that. My wife might like that. All right, can you name any more? Or we're just gonna say that we'll leave it like it's too difficult to answer for just 3.
It's like, because I'm like thinking, you think about so many people from so many different companies, and I'm just like, oh my god, what about this one? But then I'm like, oh, maybe this one. So I'm like, but I think I'm just gonna stick to one right now, and it's like
that's fair
Randy,
enough.
Because like I grew up with him, and I always say he's like my number one for like everything.
So is it difficult or impossible to even get an interview with Randy Orton? Is that like a impossible thing?
So what I guess like a lot of people don't know is like when you want WWE interviews, you have to go through a WWE contact, which is already hard in itself to get, like, to even get through with them, because I believe only one guy at the moment is receiving emails for all of like the press and media stuff. And it's very difficult to get through with somebody, especially since, you know, a lot of these companies are, you know, picky about who they want. And that's like totally fine, because you know, you want somebody, you know, how they report on your business and stuff. I know it's very hard. Like, he's a dream interview of mine. Like, he's my number one dream interviewee to sit down and have a chat with him. And I just, you know, it's hard to get through into a WWE contact. I currently don't have something like that. I know me and my bosses have, you know, tried to reach out and see what we could, you know, hopefully work with them. So hopefully one day it does happen, because I'd love to, you know, work with them in the future.
Sure. Have you ever been discouraged over these years that you've been doing this?
Like specifically, like about what?
Like discouraged, like I'm sick of this, or, you know, something that's getting in the way of you, you know, the direction that you want to go in.
Definitely. I think, you know, everybody has their hard times in their days. You have those kind of days where you wish you could be doing so much more. And like, it's just, you know, it's hard. It is like, people think, you know, oh, every day is like so great. I mean, I'm not lying. I'm not going to say it's not, you know, great, because it is. It's so great. But, you know, days, you'll have your days where it sucks. Like, you're like, oh my god, I wish I could be doing this. Like, I wish I was doing what that person was doing. Like, I know that's like me. Like, I compare myself a lot to other people, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I wish I could be doing what that person's doing. And I'm just like, gonna have to remind myself, you know, you're still, you know, going, you got to work hard and do whatever you do. You just got to keep going forward. Like, don't stop now. You've already come this far. Like, you have to push yourself. And it's hard sometimes, but you got to keep going.
Let me ask you a question about a rumor. Is it true that when you get your 1 billionth subscriber on your YouTube channel, that you will be paying them $1 million?
I don't think I'll ever reach 1 billion subscribers on YouTube, but if I do, I would happily give $1 million to somebody if that were to ever happen.
Breaking news, you heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, so you subscribe to her channel. Samira, I've learned a lot. Can I ask you 5 non-wrestling related questions? They're just yes or no questions. And you don't have to elaborate at all if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay. Can you speak in a deep masculine voice?
I don't know. I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Imitate your brother.
Hi, my name's Joe. I like to play video games and eat fried chicken. Me just like tell him what my brother likes.
It makes your brother sound a little feminine. Just throwing it out there.
I
Okay.
tried.
Are you afraid of any mode of travel?
I don't think so. When the flying car comes out, I'll probably be afraid of that.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting you brought that up. I think I'd be really scared of it too. People think it sounds like so cool. I said, well, how would you turn lanes? Or what if your car broke down and just dropped onto other cars? All right, that's a whole other episode. For $2 million, if you ever have a child, a son, for $2 million, would you name it Mary?
Maybe. Because, like, when I think of, like, when I would name my kids one day in the future, I think of naming them after people in my life. And actually, my dad's aunt was named Mary. So, I mean, why not?
You're setting your son up for a life of ridicule, at least through elementary and high school years. But
hey, this is 2022.
Yeah, and he'll have $2 million, and can wipe his tears with those. All right. Have you ever eaten dog or horse meat?
I don't think so. I don't think I would want to.
Okay. Yeah, neither would I. And finally, you're doing great. Can you share with us your favorite vacation spot in North Korea?
What?
Can you share with us like your favorite vacation spot in North Korea?
In North Korea?
Mm-hmm. You don't have one?
How can you have one? No one's ever.
I'm just asking the question. So the answer is no. You don't have a favorite spot in North Korea to go on vacation.
No.
Man, all this breaking news, unbelievable. All right, Samira, you went 5 for 5. You did very well on that. Thank you so much. Tomorrow evening you are working?
So tomorrow I will be working, 9 to 5. It's a Friday, and then
yeah.
And then tomorrow I have, an interview that I'm doing, and I'm going to be on another podcast tomorrow. And then starting then next weekend is the start to a very busy month with a bunch of bookings and like a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Sure. Do you try and have every weekend booked?
That's, the goal. I try, especially like in January and February, I did not have anything booked, which is fine. We had, if anybody's seen on social media, we had an unexpected death in the family. So I think it was good that, I wasn't booked during those months. It was nice to take this time and be with my family on the weekends when needed. But I'm really excited, work's picking back up on the weekends. I know I'm booked fully for March. April's still, got dates, and May's starting to fill in. It like everything's like slowly piecing itself together. Nice. So
and
I'm excited.
Work gives you that flexibility, like they respect that you have this thing outside of your 9 to 5.
Yeah, I've when I first walked in, I told them my work with them at the company wouldn't affect, I mean, my work with wrestling would not affect them. I make sure, because that's everything where I'm getting paid mostly. That's exactly what I gotta think of more. And usually everything is on the weekends, and I never, we don't work on the weekends. Office is closed on the weekends, so that's good. Sure. It's just some of those days when you do have to travel out, and when things are not on just a Saturday night and they're a Sunday, so you'd have to come back Monday, and I'm lucky that I get to take my laptop with me for work, so I could easily just work from wherever it is. Maybe if I'm traveling, if I'm just going on the plane, just travel that day and just work. It's easy. Oh, okay. So that's the good part about it. I'm really lucky to be working with a company like that it's really flexible.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I was looking forward to this all day. Just because I mean, your perspective is so different than what I'm used to, interviewing a wrestler, so thank you so much. Trying to think what else I wanted to tell you. I want everyone to go and subscribe to It's Samira on YouTube. You can also check her out on Instagram and Twitter. And is there any other places that people can find you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on and, asking me a bunch of different stuff. I really enjoyed that. You can also find me on SC Scoops YouTube channel and Wrestling News Co.'s YouTube channel, where I'll be dropping interviews in the next couple of, weeks and months, because there's a lot going on. And, just stay tuned on my social media. A lot of big things are going to be happening, like some announcements, a lot of announcements. I know I have a big announcement I've been planning since last year that I still can't say yet. So just tune in and watch for my social media, because they'll be coming soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Samira, thank you so much. And I wish you nothing but health and success in the future. And hopefully we'll get to talk again.
Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Take care.